Take this visual into consideration. I'm currently speaking to you, the viewer, within the confines of a square box, surrounded by an infinite void, where there was no one else for me to talk to or connect to. That is the definition of isolation. Isolation is the state of being by oneself, separated from others and detached from a connection. It's simply you and your own thoughts, and it's quite common to experience or derive a feeling of being alone when interacting with different art forms. But one medium that tackles this feeling the best, in my opinion, is gaming. Single player games for the most part, because here you're the only sentient being in the game world, and the developers, whether it be by intention or not, have to isolate the player for the sake of immersion. But with that can sometimes come this feeling of dread and emptiness. And today I'm going to cover two very different games that I feel capture that feeling of isolation almost perfectly. Now, I know this might seem like a very odd choice when it comes to this topic, but hear me out. So, Minecraft has been around for around 12 years at this point and has gained a massive cult following and has become one of the highest selling video games ever. What's so unique about it is that it gives you this vast, infinite world that you can change to your liking. Your creative freedom is limitless in this game. Now, earlier this year, I had the random urge to come back to the game. The last times I have played it were with friends, we had a gigantic run where everyone had their own buildings and their own projects, and a lot of crazy shit happened. But I can definitely say there was a massive difference in the feel between a multiplayer world and a single player world. Complete quietness. There's a strange feeling when you return to a world that you and a friend or a family member have worked on and just simply abandoned after a certain period of time. Something I heard from another video regarding this was that Minecraft is a sort of digital time capsule for all of your memories. And after giving all of this some thought, I feel like this could be categorized as liminal space. Liminal space, for those who may not know, is essentially the concept of a nostalgic or familiar looking area that once had life, but now no longer does. What's so interesting about these areas is that because of their familiar appearance, you might feel like you have some knowledge or some way around them, but in reality, you don't. You don't know the way. You don't know the rules. Like, there are no rules, my boy. You're lost. And because Minecraft has been out for so long and people have grown up with it, many might have this same feeling, minus the presence of any sort of entity or monster that's lurking around. Now, Minecraft isn't a horror game, but it does try to deceive the player in many ways. One of the most common things it does is create these weird ambient tracks that feel kind of out of place and give this feeling that the player is being watched somehow.
Looking around, we got some sheep here. Hello?
The game also has an assortment of CDs that you can find, many of which are just music, but some are just really odd recordings. Couple that with a large empty world where you don't know what you're going to find, and the fact that there are many of these weird ruins like zombie villages that exist, it really helps to make the player feel like they're alone, and that they're living in a time that's past the prime of humanity. And all the things I've just talked about is why I believe that Minecraft can just deliver this feeling of dread and isolation without even trying that hard, because you are essentially the one creating that feeling yourself in your brain. But the next game I'm going to talk about takes a little bit of a more direct approach in a completely different environment with an entirely different tone, setting, style, and a different feeling of isolation. Now, right off the bat, Portal is completely different than Minecraft, where that game would have open fields and varying environments and biomes. Portal takes place in a single research facility surrounded by sterile white walls and a very cold and mechanical feel to it all. And the only thing that accompanies you, the player, is an AI voice that eventually tries to kill you. But yeah, Portal is a very simplistic game, and it conveys the perfect amount of information that you need to progress. But what it also does with that simplicity is give the player an outlet to search for more of the story that lies within. And in this case, the game doesn't ever let you come in contact with another human being, but you see what the human beings left. And when that comes across the first time, it's a little disturbing. The AI voice, Gladys, promises the player cake if they finish all of the test chambers. And when you do finish them, this is what happens.
Congratulations. The test is now over. All Aperture technologies remain safely operational up to 4,000 degrees Kelvin. What are you doing? Stop it. We are pleased that you made it through the final challenge where we pretended we were going to murder you. We are very, very happy for your success.
Look at her.
We are throwing up.
Lying like shit. Now, your objective is to escape the research facility because that friendly voice from before now wants to kill you. And one thing that I feel adds to this sequence, something that amplifies the feeling of being alone in that terrifying situation, is that you get to see a lot more of the behind the scenes of the research facility. More specifically, the fact that the people that were supposed to be watching you are gone. You actually get to see where people would have been observing you, but there's no one there. The computers are left alone. Everything seems to be in shambles. Like when they did leave, it was out of a panicked hurry. It makes you really wonder what happened, and you don't have many of the answers. Now, there isn't a particular game that I'll cover for this brief section, but I just wanted to acknowledge how some games utilize mental isolation. In these instances, the game usually alters the player's sense of reality. In Returnal, the main character's mental turmoil takes the form of an alien planet dragging them back every time they die. Batman Arkham Asylum has the nightmare sequences that isolate the player with Scarecrow. Bloodborne as a whole, that game is just crazy. A game like Amori, which I haven't finished but found pretty cool when I was playing it, uses common fears to make the player feel very, very uneasy. Mental isolation is so interesting because you're essentially experiencing someone's brain collapse in on itself, and the perception may be false, which is an interesting concept itself. I might get into more of that in another video, but even though I've consistently reiterated that isolation is dreadful or frightening, it's not always the case. See, having some time alone with yourself can give you some time to reflect, to relax, or even just enjoy the beauty that is the world.